Hey, this is Alex Southey, and you're listening to Your Worst Song. Mabel, you want to say something? Mabel. Hello, Mabel. You want to say something? Come on. There you go. All right. Good morning. Uh, this is another fresh conversation recorded at Thursday of the week prior. Got to chat to Hanorah, Lisa Hanorah, an amazing singer, songwriter, performer, actress, based in Montreal. We had a lot. We really ran the gamut of subjects. We got everything from being on a bigger label to being on a smaller label to the Montreal scene to touring in the UK and America, and you know what you do when you're faced with revelations about somebody who you're working with, and how you deal with that, and how you deal with personal identity, and if personal identity should be something that is used in your songs, or how it should be used and when it should be used. All of these sort of philosophical leaning things are laid out in, thankfully, a fun and listenable conversation. So this is Alex Southey and Mabel the cat, and you are listening to Your Worst Song. That's great. Yeah, thank you very much. Anyway, great to talk to you. I was reading a little bit about you because some people I'm more familiar with, especially if they're based in Toronto. That's what I'm more used to. But you're based in Montreal. Is that still correct?
Yes, I'm in
Okay.
Montreal.
Okay, and that's also where you started. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can't leave. Like my mom and grandma, my sister are here. As
Oh,
long as they're here, I don't think I can go.
so tell me about it. Tell me what that's like. Like, I'm very familiar with the Toronto, music scene coming up in that, and that kind of vibe. But I guess, how was the Montreal scene? When did you get into it, etc.?
I'm still discovering it. I feel like when I got my start, I was a painting school dropout, and I just wanted to start a band because I was looking for a mode of expression that was more immediate. And
Okay.
singing has always been a very accessible way for me to express myself.
Yep.
Um, I feel like it's very haptic, it's very visceral, and it helps me kind of move through difficult emotions or traumatic experiences, that sort of thing. And so I
Let me
started a
cut you
band.
off. Sorry, let me cut you off briefly because you used a word that I always see on iPhones and I never know what the fuck it means, which is
Um,
haptic.
Haptic. It means it refers to physical, like your physical and spatial relationship with something. So it's in the context of an iPhone, it's probably talking about like how sensitive it is to your touch, or like
Oh,
things like your physical use, the touch
okay.
part. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry, I cut you off, but I've always wondered about that because it seems like haptic, the word almost looks like a misspelling of a pre-existing word or
It
something.
does. It means like as it relates to the body, like
Okay.
in a touch capacity.
Okay, well then, great use of that word. But
Yay!
please continue then. Please
For
continue.
sure. So yeah, music being a really immediate form of expression for me. I started a band. We hit the pub scene, and I didn't really know what the music community in Montreal was. I didn't know what community meant really
Mm,
around music. Like the understanding I had of a musical career was sign up with a label, they promote you with a whole bunch of money, and then the public likes you or they don't, and you get famous or you don't. That's kind of like the version of it that I grew up understanding
yeah.
because I was listening to a lot of older music. So the things that last in the archive that kind of stay in the public consciousness are the things that were really successful.
Absolutely. People don't think about that a lot. Even this idea of like, oh man, it seems like 70s music was the best. And it's like, well, you're only hearing the stuff that made it 50 years later as still
Exactly.
relevant. Yeah, yeah.
It's like not an accurate sample size,
For
right?
sure, for sure. Okay, interesting.
And then funny enough, so yes, I met some different musicians and artists in my early in that first like year or so of just figuring out what the music venues were, figuring out who to play with, and folks just seeing me at one show being like, "Can you come play this other show?" And it's like, "Okay, sure." Like I just said
Yeah.
yes to everything to like figure out what it was. And then at the very beginning of that process of really getting my feet wet in and opening my eyes to the fact that there was another way to do music,
Hmm.
I did get signed to one of the bigger record labels in Montreal. At the time, it was called Dare to Care, and they did do the put a whole bunch of money behind you and put your face everywhere.
Yeah.
For like a year, that was the case, and then COVID hit.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is fine because since then I've been blessed to have another perspective and build a community from the ground up now. I had that like cloud period, which was
Yeah.
also very stressful. There's a lot of pressure on you when a company puts that much money behind you.
Yeah, absolutely.
As intense. But now I'm getting to discover what it is about community that's important, how you sustain creative relationships with people if you're not paying them. Like there are so
Mhm.
many different ways that you can relate to other human beings with music, and the industry part of it, the money part of it is like confusing and definitely changes the game. So the best part about Montreal is that because the rent has historically been a little bit more affordable than other places in Canada, a lot of artists flock here and you get a
Yeah.
lot of perspective from people from all over the world, which is really
Right,
exciting. And
right.
everyone's so nice.
Yeah, no, that I you just gave me a lot to talk about. That's good. So the first thing I want to note is you said you got into the pub scene, which is so how it happens. Like first you need to start by just going like this place on the corner seems to let you play covers. Maybe we
Yeah,
can finagle our way in there. And then so tell me about being signed to a major label in Montreal. Like that seems like it happened quickly
it
ish.
did. It did.
And okay, and so obviously you made an impression singing and what you did with your music, but what uh what was, if you can tell me more about what that experience was like it seems as though you are not on that label anymore, so
Correct.
was that because you also brought up the pandemic, was that a case of the label collapsing or was that a case of the label trying to stay afloat and cut people so that they could do that?
So it's a bit complicated. When I was signed by this label, I was brand new and did not know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah,
But you're right, I did make an impression. I'm lucky in that I have a pretty unique tone, at least in the sort of signed artist music scene in
yeah,
Quebec in general. Like they're signing a lot of indie French stuff that kind of belongs in one world, even
yeah.
if they don't all have the same sonics, they really belong in the same world. And what I'm doing, this like I have like a bluesy vibe in my vocal a little bit, and there really isn't a lot of that going on in that particular sphere of music here.
No,
So I'm
yeah, I took a listen. Just sorry, just to jump on that, I took a listen to your music, and
still,
also obviously uh, looked at some of the bios that are around on you, and who knows how real those bios really reflect. But they listed some of the other singers that you're supposed to be reminiscent of, so it was like Amy Winehouse, going way back, like Etta James, people like that, which is very true, having listened to your voice, and also true that that's kind of a rarer and rarer voice now,
yeah,
weirdly.
yeah,
Because
totally. Like
everybody acknowledges that's a great style of voice, but it's funny that it's not quite as saturated in the market as it used to be.
totally. I think there's like there are vocal trends,
Yes. Oh God.
um,
Yeah.
and like a really good example is like Adrienne Lenker, an incredible
Mm-hmm.
songwriter. I feel like her vocal styling is sort of the quintessential indie voice. The
Mm-hmm.
little like inflections and where she adds her twang and how she opens up and retracts her vocal cords for like a wider, rounder sound and her delicate vibrato. Like there's definitely a new vocal sound that exists in the indie world. And in the
Definitely.
pop world, there's a lot of focus on really high, almost like Disney princess type singing, like Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan. They're doing these really, really high and
Right.
thin sounds because it cuts through really well, which makes sense. They're trying to grab
Right.
attention. Um, and yeah, I'm just here with this contralto thing, like, but it's cool. So in Montreal, yes, I made an impression. My voice stood out, but I didn't know what I was doing. There was a lot of fumbling, a lot of figuring things out on the job. I don't have a musical education.
Mhm.
I learned by performing live with my band,
Yeah.
who were all a bunch of strangers that I met at random, like on the street in the city.
Damn.
Yeah, and they took a chance on me, luckily. So so I put out my first EP for The Good Guys and the Bad Guys, and we did our launch show, and it had like the launch show itself had like mixed reviews, which was fair because there were like a lot of stressors and factors and not a
Yeah.
lot of resources that were put forth for us at the time. I think we needed a little bit more help in terms of making sure the show was really solid and make
Okay.
a good impression on the local community.
This was a
So
release show for the EP that was released through after being signed to the major label, and therefore it was already being reviewed.
Yes, and
Yes,
just
okay.
just to clarify, they were not a major label, but they were the biggest indie
Oh,
label.
sorry, yes, okay, okay, gotcha.
To clarify. But yeah, there was a lot behind it, and um, it just wasn't our best show,
Okay.
unfortunately. And so there was like a conversation with the label after that of like like Liz, Hanorah, you have to do something to really take it to the next level because everyone's looking at this and we really want it to go well. I was like, oh, you're right. So we woodshedded really hard and things were starting to go really well. And that's when COVID hit. And at that point,
Uh,
everything was sort of on pause musically anyway. Nobody initially were making records.
yeah.
And then shortly after COVID hit, the head of the label stepped down, which was a surprise.
Yeah.
And it was during a wave. I'm not sure if Ontario had much wind of this, but there was during the Black Lives Matter stuff.
Uh-huh.
There was also an additional wave of Me Too in Quebec, particularly around music, media, photography, and tattooing. Like in that
Oh.
scene,
Oh,
there was a big wave of disclosure of names of men that were mostly men, but some women as well, who were like serial offender type people.
oh, okay.
Excuse me. So when the head of this label stepped down, I kind of went,
Ah,
"What happened? Something's going to come out." And a couple days later, it did. It turned out that he had both been protecting an artist who was known for sexually harassing and in some cases like crossing the line with certain female fan members,
okay.
and then the head of that label themselves had allegations of sexual misconduct with his employees as well,
Damn.
spanning his whole career, like 2 decades.
Oh,
So when that happened, I hired a lawyer and got the heck out of there. I couldn't like believe. I mean, for me, writing songs was my first ticket to sanity after I
mhm,
experienced a sexual assault myself when I was 18. So
okay.
I was like intoxicated with rage that this person who knew this about my story, my relationship with music, could look me in the eye, shake my parents' hands, and sign me
Yeah.
on the table. Like what audacity! So I got a lawyer, I got out of there, and moved on.
Jeez. Okay, well, that's good. Good call. Um, and yeah, like you said, like, it's interesting that then you got the experience so you got that experience of being on the cloud, as you say, which is a good way to say it, and then going back down, for lack of a better terminology, and grassroots growing, sort of, it sounds like. I'm sure we'll go back and forth in your career, but I saw another which basically it's interesting the opportunities you're getting. It's cool. Like I saw that you had some of your music on a either a movie or a TV show, and then that or sorry, no. I read that your music video that was directed by orphan black person and stuff like that got you
Oh,
your foot in the door, and now you're going to be in a movie. Is that correct?
so what happened with that was I was performing at a music festival in Kingston, Ontario,
Okay.
and this director who was a producer on Orphan Black and Hannibal and Hairspray, a bunch of other projects, came to the show looking for a lead
Oh.
for his film, and he saw me and was like, "You're my Catherine." So I
Whoa.
auditioned and I got the part. So we shot it over the fall, and it was premiered at the Kingston Canadian Film Festival a month ago, which was really, really fun. And
Damn.
I'm still waiting for the info on the public release. But yeah, I never acted in a movie before. That was crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, yeah, what? Okay, tell me about. Tell me a bit about that. What was that like going into audition? You've never auditioned before, but you're clearly the one that the director or producer wants. So, yeah, what was that
Yeah.
like?
Uh Strange. I had
Yeah,
an acting friend of mine coach me a little bit ahead of time, and he advised me just to be myself because
sure. I mean, you were chosen as yourself, so why not?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he said just like know the lines, read the lines. In the film I was playing a drummer and
Oh,
it's a horror film, so I have to like we're going on this my band and I go on this like big hurrah camping trip to like drink and jam and whatever, and then
yeah.
a psycho starts killing everybody, so I have to save my
Oh,
friends. This is sort
that's
of
awesome. It's like a
it's
classic
fun.
slasher. Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. So I get to be like the hero and like save everybody. It's really fun. No
That's awesome.
spoilers though.
No
There's a lot
spoilers.
there's some twists, but yeah. So I practiced drums. I had a coach teach me a little bit. My dad's a drummer too, so there's
Okay.
like a lot of advice on how to look like you can play the drums. And the actual process of shooting is a lot like making a record.
hmm
Um, Doing lots of takes over and over, listening back, doing it again, or like playing a show. You set up, sound check, play, tear down, go home.
Right. True.
Shooting, it's like you set up, you rehearse the shot, you do a few takes, tear it down, set up a new shot. So it's like playing a show 30 times in a day.
Wow. Yeah. 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 Damn. And then What did that spark any more interest in acting for you, or were you like, this is a, kind of, if people want to keep bringing me into projects, that's cool, but I'm gonna still continue actively pursue music, and then if these things fall in my lap, I'll do them.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky that doing this film enabled me to get an acting agent, and I've
Hmm.
had like a couple gigs since then, which is really nice. But yeah, music is always going to be my first love. So if I'm right for a part for the same reason I was right for this one, I'll do it and bring my whole heart and soul into it.
Cool.
Especially if there's a musical component. I think that's so much fun.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
but music is really where it's at for me right now.
Cool. No, it makes sense. I just wanted to ask about that because I'm also interested in
Really?
film and do a bit of acting stuff. But you
No,
said yeah, yeah. You said your dad drums. Does your dad other? Was that a hobby thing, or was he in a band, or what?
he's been playing drums since he was, I want to say, 8 years old.
Wow.
So almost 50 years, which is crazy to think about. He's a really, really good, like solid, really great R&B drummer in Montreal. He was a careerist for a while, and then when he and my mom had me and my sister, he decided to kind of go more part time with music.
He did the
But
responsible thing.
he did, and my
Yeah.
mom told him like, "Go, the tour is happening, go." But he was like, "But my babies." He
Aw.
I know,
Yeah.
and they met in a band as well. Like she was a singer and
Mm.
I was a drummer, and they met in a band.
Wow. You need to write a song about that if you haven't already.
Oh,
That's cute.
you're right. I should.
Yeah, you should. That could be a movie. You could play
Yeah.
your mom in the movie made of,
Oh,
something
that's
like
so
that.
sweet. I
That's
really
lovely
would.
though. That's so does that mean that when you became interested in music, you sort of uh leaned on your parents and they were supportive and had no worry about you getting into that kind of thing?
My mom is incredibly supportive. In fact, when I was having my doubts about what to do with my life, she was always telling me, like, "Girl, you've always been a singer. Just you're incredible. Do that," you know? And
Yeah.
I had all of my fears and hangups, a little bit more anxious by nature, like more like my dad, who's
Okay.
tries to think more practically. And my dad is very proud of me as well, and also had a laundry list of be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of
He's
course.
a dad.
But I mean, he's a dad, but also clearly he was fucking right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's good that maybe him doing that prepared you even more for when you had to leave the label. You were like, this is clearly the right decision. My parents
Totally.
set me up for this, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and
sorry,
I
go ahead.
think there's sorry, and like my parents when they were in music more, it's a very different world than it is now.
Yeah,
So sometimes the advice applies and sometimes it doesn't, but just having their support and they know that it's hard and harder than ever is really really helpful.
definitely. That's so true about some advice sort of reaches a point where it sort of expires almost like growing up even I'd hear from my parents when I wanted a job like go in and shake the manager's hand and hand them a resume. It's like that's all online now. I can't, that doesn't work. If it was the 1950s and I was applying to a hardware store, maybe that would work or something, you know.
I kind of long for those days. Like it's exhausting because now we're kind of slaved, slaves of an algorithm, and you have to have this
Yes.
many followers and this many views and this much this and that and whatever to like be even in the pile for a festival to apply because they're filtering with algorithms and stuff. So it's the same with jobs as well. It's a totally different world economically for employment in general and the arts as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you a little bit about that, like, and be as forthcoming as you want. You don't need to be, but do you only do music and acting full time, or do you have have a job that alleviates some of the stress of that of money?
I've gone up and down, like back and forth with this a few times. I a lot There were a lot of changes in my life during that COVID time,
Hmm.
and it made it such that I was then paying my rent, like the whole rent of my apartment by myself. I was living with somebody who had to go.
Oh, okay.
And so for a while I was doing it just music full time. In fact, I it was strange. I had like a strange financial boom in the first, like in 2021, 2022. There was like a big injection of funds into the arts for like those Zoom shows, and there was a
Right.
big boom of touring as well. And I reinvested a lot of that, um, and did more stuff, like did a tour in the UK, in the
Mhm.
US, South by Southwest, a bunch of really cool stuff. And then I started looking at my credit card statement
Oh
and like,
no.
okay, yeah, okay, money is coming in and money is going out, and my rent is expensive. So I think I need to. So I did. Now I have a part-time job in a restaurant just to kind of like keep the personal finances and the music finances separately,
That
so
is
that I
smart.
can still grow the project and not be stressed about paying my rent anymore.
For sure. Yeah, that and also just this like simply like you were saying, like it's good to organize and differentiate those two streams of money and where you want to put. And I say this as someone who's not doing it yet, but it is a good idea and I should
It's really
absolutely do.
hard.
It's hard. It's hard, you know. Musicians are good, artists are good at art. They're not good at business, you know. That's why they're artists. Or part of why. But okay. So you said that you've traveled a bit to a bunch of different places, which is cool. What was the UK, just out of curiosity, what was the UK tour like?
It was I think it's my favorite tour I've ever done.
Okay.
The culture shock alone, like the architecture,
Yeah.
the size down to the size and the coloring of the streets and the buildings and how people relate to one another, how hospitable strangers are in talking with you, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
helping you find your place and things like that. And I didn't get much of a sense of the flavor of the local scene while we were there because we were
Sure.
just hopping from gig to gig.
Yeah.
But the landscape's incredible and the people were just so great, and I have such an itch to go back, especially Liverpool and Wales. We were in Wrexham in Wales for Focus Wales, and that
Oh,
was
no
just
way.
fun. Yeah, it's
That's
great.
funny. I feel like Wrexham now has reached more popularity in North America because of the soccer with Ryan Reynolds and.
Exactly, and there was a big game while we were there as
Oh,
well.
really?
Yeah, but
Wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
the town's popping now. They've got music festivals and soccer. They're doing well.
Oh, wow, good for them. Okay, that's good that that's booming. I think that was their goal, those two guys. But okay, so I want to. Was that your first time in the UK?
Yes, it was. It
It
was.
was.
Yeah,
Okay. So what did you think of, presumably you went to London as well or some of the
we
other
did.
major cities. So you haven't listed that one. So what was London like for you?
London was great, and we met some friends there.
Okay.
I want to say Ayub, but I want to get his name right
Sure, yeah.
because
Go ahead.
incredible like disc jockey OG.
Hmm.
And hang on, Mo sounds like Mo was his handle.
Okay.
Sounds like Mo. Yeah, Mo Ayub. So
Okay.
we met him in Liverpool. He was there for um a festival there. I can't remember the name of it. And then he lives in London, so we hung out in London as well.
Mm-hmm.
He showed us around. We got to taste some amazing local cuisine and go to the thrift shops and really get a vibe. And there's a lot of life in London. It's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a regal element to it and a grandeur in that city for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like New York and LA in the sense that the wealth disparity is really high, is really wide.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful and well maintained as certain parts of it are, there you could also really see how hard life is there for most people
Mm.
financially. So
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely like a cloud hanging over the city that you can
Yeah.
see with people's eyes, you
Oh
know?
no, yeah. I think that cloud is permeating a bunch of different continents. You know, even over here, it's getting harder. The disparity is growing. Um,
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know how you see it. Maybe getting back to Montreal, I don't know how you see it in Montreal, but funnily enough, I was just rehearsing last night with a friend of mine who is not from Montreal but is Franco-Ontarian, has a bunch of connections there, and has heard about it, and blah blah blah. And he said, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm speaking more about the disparity for musicians now, but there's like the people just getting their foot in the door. They're not making money. It's just sort of like they're trying to get there, but they're not making a living from it. And then there is automatically like a step up, I guess, closer to where you are, and other people who are making a decent enough amount from music that they can kind of call that their living. Let's say, even though I know you're working at a restaurant now, but the difference.
For sure.
And so, do you think that's correct? And also, what they said is Toronto, it appears there's more minor levels between those two levels.
It's hard for me to compare because I haven't lived in Toronto and
Yeah.
participated much in the scene there, but what I can say is the sense that I get is that the middle is operating on a model that's like on its way to being obsolete from the way
Hmm.
that I see it. Like a lot of the people that are in sort of the zone that I'm in, which is like a wide, blurry middle,
Yeah.
um, are dependent on grants
Yeah.
for a lot of the work that we do. And this year, the last year or so, a lot of friends of mine are like, I didn't get the grant. I didn't get the grant. And it's like left and right, people are really struggling to even make the work at all.
Right.
And the younger generation below us are coming up in a TikTok world and
Yeah.
are kind of cutting their teeth with those tools where we were more dependent on institutions. So very broad strokes generally. Everybody's trying to
Yeah.
dip their toes in everything, but I would say that the advantage that they have is that they're probably going to be better equipped or to become more adept at wielding algorithms in their favor if they want to go that route,
Right.
or more on the pulse of alternative media, things like zines and underground culture, rave culture, to kind of connect in that way. Whereas what we get a little bit, I mean, we're all in the same boat, but I'll say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
artists have a little bit more of that, like, financial have had more financial support in their careers. It's really easy to get complacent with that and be like, I don't need TikTok. And it would be so great if we all lived in a world where we weren't spending, 3 days of our week filming, editing, shooting, and uploading TikToks when we should be writing songs. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'll say that probably the younger generation are going to be more adapted to that, fast changing part of the world.
I think you're right. The gig economy in general, even just in general, having like piecemeal things together. You sort of implied there that you are doing TikToks as well, putting a decent amount of effort. Is that true? Putting a decent amount of effort into them? Like maybe not 3 days out of the week or whatever, but like when you go on TikTok, are you doing just here is my music, here's a snippet of the music video, or here's a snippet of me performing? Or is it like you're doing the dance and you're doing the
No
all that
dancing.
stuff?
No
Okay, okay.
dancing. No.
Okay.
I don't wanna pretend that I'm 16 years old and, like,
Sure.
cringe on myself like that. But I've I've experimented a little bit with it in the last, like, 4 months or so. I think I uploaded 50 reels in the last few months, but mostly on Instagram more so than TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok feels like it really seems to thrive on chaotic and extreme content,
Yeah.
and I don't think that I like that because it creates a sort of, like echo chamber again with a sort of false perspective on what the average is in terms of like opinion and culture and all these
Yeah, good
things.
point.
And I feel like that isn't the same. It's not to the same degree on Instagram. I feel like Instagram is tailored more to aesthetic, and
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I just, maybe it's just my algorithms are different on both apps, like what I'm seeing in my For You pages.
I
So
think generally you're right, even if there's a bleeding in between
oh,
both. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the culture of TikTok has changed how people release short form videos on Instagram and
Hmm.
everywhere else for sure.
Hmm.
But I guess I'm intimidated by the app a little bit. I find myself not uploading my videos on TikTok, even though I made them for TikTok, and just uploading them on Instagram. So I have not cracked a code for myself yet, but I'm still experimenting with it. And when I get crazy in my head of like obsessing about numbers and stuff, then I'm like, okay, girl, go write a song. Have
Yes.
fun.
Wow. That's
Get a grip.
healthy. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. How well, maybe I'll ask how this is so general. I don't know how you're going to answer this. Good luck. How do you
Mhm.
write a song? So
Personally,
you personally, like I think I'll preface it by giving an example. I don't even necessarily love Oasis, but heard an interview with Noel Gallagher and he described songwriting and he said it's a bit like fishing for me, where if I don't have the guitar in my hands, I won't think of a song. But if I'm watching TV, fumbling around on the guitar in my lap as well, maybe I'll come across something, and from there, I can follow that spark to a song. Do you do it like that, or will you go, I am going to my room to write a song?
um, interesting. What I like about what he's saying is that he's acknowledging that passive noodling
Yeah,
is like is a way in, and it is. Like when I'm for
totally.
me, an alternate, because I'm a singer first, when I'm washing my dishes or in the
Mm,
shower and I don't have audio input in the form of like other media, let's say, because we all have like media addictions to varying degrees in our lives now. We don't have as much quiet time as we often need to get ideas.
definitely.
It's interesting that he does that while watching TV, but when I'm washing my dishes in the shower or going for walks without my headphones on, something about the rhythm of those activities um, definitely puts me in some kind of meditative headspace where ideas come more easily. But I like what he said because it kind of like points to one of the main rules in anything creative, which is that the number one thing you can do is show up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. Like, if I don't go to my piano, I'm very likely not to write a song.
totally.
If I don't pick up a guitar, it's very unlikely I'm going to just write one. But if I do something, then something good or bad or nothing is going to happen. But something.
Absolutely. It's like playing the lottery. You won't win the lottery if you don't play it. You have to at least buy a ticket. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
No. For sure. Okay, so it's closer to that. It'll sort of come to you during a menial task, but at the same time, you will musically maybe you'll sit down and put chords together. But melody wise, it can happen whenever you're doing
Yeah, I do
whatever.
get a lot of melodies in the shower and even at work sometimes, like, if we play a lot of instrumental music at the restaurant,
Oh,
so
I bet.
it's a beautiful canvas, and then I have ADHD, obviously, like 99% of artists on earth, and
Yeah.
so my brain is trying to entertain itself, so it comes up with melodies to overlay it, and then I go to the bathroom with my phone and record voice notes, but, um, usually, when I write a song that I can actually finish, it's because it's coming from an emotion that I'm feeling really strongly that's interrupting my day, so if
Mm.
I find myself thought looping and when I'm washing my dishes, ruminating about a situation and I'm scrubbing the pan and I'm mad or I'm hurt or upset or happy or something,
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh, there's something there. Go get your pen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's funny. I was gonna ask. You mentioned it already in that explanation, but what you record into? So you just do voice memo like on your iPhone or phone or whatever.
Just for a sketch, just so I don't forget the melody because
No,
I often
totally,
forget things.
totally.
And then I'll do that thing where like you spend half an hour or whatever looping the chord progression on your instrument and looping the melodies and then just improvising and not thinking too much about it, just throwing stuff out. And I record all of that in my phone and then I listen back and then I'll hear, oh, this is a part that I like. So I'll cut that and put it in something. And then, oh, I like this part too. I'll cut that and put that next to it. And then I'll rearrange those bits of melody until it's telling a story.
That's funny. That's like that makes sense. But the reason I say it's funny is because it seems as though you write yourself mostly. Maybe your band will flesh it out with you, but you write the song yourself. What that reminds me of is jam bands who get together and jam out something, and then they go, "Well, we jammed for an hour. Let me listen through to that hour, and oh, that was a cool riff. That was a cool thing. Let me sync those up." That's funny that that's what you do, but yourself.
I love that because I listened. Do you ever listen to Song Exploder?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. They did an episode with the guys from War about the song "Lowrider,"
Oh
and that's
yeah.
exactly how they did that song. They jammed for hours, and then some producer, like, picked out the literally cut the recording of the jam and
And it was
not
that one like low ride. Uh,
duh, and, like, the
that's funny.
like, that part, he just cut
Right.
that, he's like, "That's the hook. This is the drum loop," and, like, yeah, so, yeah, definitely, I
Wow.
think like melodies that are improvised or that come out intuitively because I'm feeling an emotion, because I'm telling a story,
Yeah,
tend to land better for me. So I need to listen back and hear what actually makes sense after the fact.
definitely. That makes sense. And so at the moment, we're only speaking about music, lyrics. What's the deal with that for you? Will you?
What's the deal with
What's the
lyrics?
deal? I'm the Seinfeld of music interviews. What's the deal
Okay.
with lyrics? Yeah. Well, what I kind of mean is you write the lyrics, presumably, but what I mean is some people will start with the lyrics and make the music. You retrofit it into those, or opposite. Like I'm opposite. I start with the music and then it's easier for me to put lyrics to the vocal melody I've already put rather than come up with lyrics and a vocal melody and then find what musical platform is correct under it.
I do it different ways. It depends on the
Oh,
song.
okay.
With my most recent single, Heavenly One, the lyric is what came to me first while I was making my bed. Again, domestic tasks,
Yeah,
lyric.
yeah.
And it was the lyric, Heaven, take your time with me.
Mm,
And I was reflecting on at the time I had a lot of relationship anxiety. I had just like gone through a breakup about a year before at that point, but was so terrified at the prospect of connecting with somebody new and
mm.
opening my heart in that way. And I was like just meeting somebody maybe and was like nauseous and I
Oh,
was in my bed and like worrying about my future. I'm like, I'm gonna die alone because I'm too afraid of love. And then that line popped into my head and it was like, you can just take your time, you can set your own pace. And if you need to, you can beg for the universe to only bring your blessings on a slow drip so that you can take it comfortably.
yeah.
And so once that came into my head, I was like, okay, that's what I need. That's what I need to write about. And then from there, um, I just was strumming a G chord, singing that line until I found a rhythm and a melody that I liked. And then sometimes I'll start with just like notes app on my phone if I'm upset about something or
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something, I'll just type things out, and then later when I have a chord progression that has a similar emotion, then I'll look at the lyrics and then tweak them to sing something that fits and matches, and so it can be either way for me.
Right, right. Like maybe you'll go, okay, yeah, this chord progression musically sort of suits the what I've written about here, but the melody that I'm sort of coming up with, this line needs to be shortened in some way. So maybe
Exactly.
it'll go from like the action of walking, you'll change it to walk or something like that.
Exactly like that.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So how is how has it been getting back to being on that label and then being on your own? What what was it like, I guess, going from having all of those eyes on you, where it is incredibly stressful, but in another way probably very satisfying, uh, to not having that? Satisfying because theoretically you reached a goal, which is being on a
Yeah.
label and stuff.
Yeah. Um, to clarify, I am with a smaller label now. They're called
Okay.
Ensoul, kind of like
On is
Montreal.
that a French on soul?
Yeah, Ensoul. Most of their artists sing in English, though.
Oh,
Most of us
okay.
sing in English, but
A-
Ensoul.
And because I'm a moron, I need to ask,
Yeah.
does that just mean in soul?
Yeah, like I guess in French it would mean like in the style of soul or
Ah,
in a soulful manner.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you find your
Um,
way onto the smaller label then? Maybe that's a question.
this was through my friend Dominique Fils-Aimé, who is a very talented, kind of jazzy, experimental black classical vibe artist. She does like a lot of like loops and meditative stuff
Hmm.
in her music, and we performed together at a small backyard concert acoustically. I
Oh,
want to say in 2018, and
okay, cool.
we hit it off really well. So years later, when I was leaving my last label, I talked to her about my situation, and she's like, "You need to email Kevin," and I did. Um, but there was still definitely a change
Hmm.
in the scale of the project, and not necessarily, I don't know if I want to say the resources, but definitely they're in a different world
Yeah.
in Quebec. um and I have a funny relationship with that because for me, I think that my the music that I make isn't really tailored for Quebec anyway, so I don't really feel culturally obligated to contribute
Mm.
in because of the style that I'm just like that I attach to, but that I do naturally. I feel like UK, US makes more sense, but I live here, and you spread your wings and you tour and all that, and it's fine.
Yeah.
But it was definitely an emotional adjustment, and even to this day. So when I was with the big label, I had a ton of anxiety and excitement around every single release, and in the EP and the music videos, every single thing that came out, every tour that was announced. I was very excited because everything was new. Everything was a first time, so I was like, "Oh my god, we did it! We did it!"
Yeah.
And then there was also a lot of anxiety, and now it's more like, okay, I've done this before, and I still have the anxiety, but none of the excitement.
That's
So
funny.
it's tough to honestly maintain my sanity and not go totally cuckoo when putting out a video or a song or something, because I have such like I care so much about what I make,
Hmm.
and trust my music to people who do such beautiful things with it, that I really want the releases to go well, and I want to affect people positively with my music because of why I sing. Um, so I think that I attach a lot of like I put a lot of pressure on the songs and on myself
Hmm.
to reach a wide audience, because I believe that we're in a time where it's really easy to lose touch with our humanity, and I
Hmm.
think that experiences of beauty are a shortcut to reconnecting with our humanity. So there's that as well. There's the purpose behind the music, and then there's my ego that both really happen to go
Yeah.
well.
So that's a very noble way to describe it. I'm glad that that's how you look at it. But I also want to hear, if you can be more specific. You said you want your releases to go well, and I feel like the listeners and you and I can probably imagine generally what that is. Well received, critically well received, as in it's listened to often. But maybe a better question from that is, what is your goal now? What does success look like to you? Like, is it just not
Oh,
having a second job? Is it as simple as that? Maybe.
it's a complicated question to answer, and it's something that I'm grappling with a lot right now.
Okay.
There's never enough money. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the problem with money or success is if you treat it like um,
Like a
something
video
that,
game, increasing.
yeah, yeah, your tolerance just goes up, and then it's
Yeah.
no matter how much more you have, it's never enough. So I have to be mindful of that for sure. I think what it is I want I want to be I want my music to land in the right hands. Rather be heard. I want to find my people. Like I want it to be
Yeah.
heard by people that need it and seen by people who need it. And so to do that, I think that I imagine, this is my imagination, I imagine that it would be beneficial to be in certain pockets, like in certain circuits such as NPR,
Yeah. Right.
KZXP, like that sort of
Totally.
area.
Yeah.
And I have a really hard time finding the way in from where I'm at. Like the PR people that I know of here, that the labels that I've worked with like pay, don't do that. Like they don't have those connects. And
Mm,
it's like a really complex web of how people get into those things from my understanding. And um like I probably would have been better suited for that kind of connection when my project was newer and there was hype around it, and now I'm sort of like, I don't know, it's really hard to know how to kind of get in front of those people's eyes, and then when I make that my goal, I go crazy. So
yeah. Yeah.
I really do have to focus on like making the best music that I can, having fun while doing it, and trusting that I'm on, as long as I'm making the music that I want to make, that I feel that I feel compelled to make, that something good is going to come from it. And I'm not a fortune teller. I cannot predict who and how and when exactly needs to hear it. You know, it's like it has a life of its own once it's released. So I have to have faith,
Definitely.
which is hard.
It is hard. It is hard, but that's good that you do. It seems like you do. I see what you mean about the connects for NPR and KEXP and stuff. That's more like those are the American big cool radio stations you'd want to be on. NPR is, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know NPR, that's the classic like, and you're listening to uh the next hour we're going to be talking about baking muffins. It's very they're cerebral and care about arts and culture in the US and stuff. And then KEXP is like this dope California, LA based, I think, radio station that's broken all a bunch of cool bands and stuff. And they have the KEXP live videos and stuff. So, anyway, people should check those out. What this is all leading to is me wondering if presumably your label takes care of these PR things for you, but they don't have those connects. Fair enough. So, would you ever consider, or are you even allowed to have like try and create ask American PR companies to work with you, and then that'll be much money. I know, but if you had the money, would you
Yes,
do it? Okay.
yes, 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 yes,
Okay,
yes.
but that's
Yeah,
okay. Okay, gotcha.
and I want to be like, I need to be, come back to reality a little bit as well, because um it's really easy to lose touch with gratitude. Like I'm very
Yeah.
lucky that again, back to our conversation about younger artists, like about the fact that I have resources at all at this point in my life, is I'm very fortunate to have that. And it doesn't mean that getting on NPR doing a tiny desk will blow up my career in such a way that I'll never feel pain again. Like
No, no, no.
that's not real.
Yeah.
When I'm focused on making the next nice project, that's when things tend to go well for me in my world in general. And yeah, it's like I think that I belong in these places, but I can't really determine when and how that's going to happen. Like the only way to get through that maze is to kind of take the next step in front of you and not like shoot and then fall into a hole. You know what I'm saying? So,
Wow. Yeah. Very well
yeah,
said.
for
And
sure. Like if
also,
I had,
I also feel like part of the onus is on you and I to put ourselves out there, like we're saying, and send our music. But part of it is a little bit like that producer coming to see you play live and just going, you know what, she's exactly what I pictured for this role, and you didn't
you
even know,
can't,
right? It's just
you
about a
can't
vibe
predict
thing,
it.
and if they like you,
You can't predict it exactly. And like
yeah,
just the other day, I was like having a really hard time with this, and I feel like artists don't talk about this, but a lot of us struggle with this like insecurity on and off at different points in our career, unless you're just like smoking weed all day long. But
I am
um
smoking weed all day long and still concerned about everything you've
there
listed.
you
So
go. There you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
I've never smoked weed and I'm losing my mind. But
Oh, really?
um
Okay.
what to say, I was having a really, really tough time with this in full like self-judgment mode, and I suck and I have a
Yeah.
career is going nowhere and all this bullshit that we tell. And a friend of mine invited me to come sing a song at an event that she was putting on that night. We'd done this like songwriting class, and I participated in the class. We all wrote an album in a month. It was really fun. And so I sang a song and was feeling really shit about myself. But there's that thing in my voice where no matter how good I feel that day, is my voice is what it is. And if people like that, they're going to like what I'm doing. And that's what
Mm,
happened. night. So when I was on my way out, I had talked to a couple of music pals in the room, and it was good to connect and get out of my head and remember that the music is what's important and not to worry about the future so much. And as I'd kind of let go of that on my way out of the door, these two particular industry professionals that I've been really wanting to link up with for years
Hmm.
stopped me on my way out to be like, "Are you Hanorah? That was
Whoa.
amazing. We want to hear more stuff from you."
Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's
like
like out of a
surrender.
movie. That's what you dream about.
I know.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't control anything, and I need to let go of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'll be a scene in your future biopic.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the four main questions I usually ask. I'm way late on asking those anyway. What you've sort of covered what I imagine will come up from these questions anyway, but first question is what is your favorite gig that you've ever played? She's
Wow.
thinking deeply about it. We should there's no I can people can't see you, so I'm just thinking they're hearing dead silence
Oh
after that
yeah.
question. No, no, no. I
Sorry.
just want to be
Yeah.
like, she's thinking about it.
I am because there've been so many. For one thing, like for a period, it was a blur,
Yeah.
because there were a lot in short sequence, and that's not a
Mm.
flex. That's like I was overwhelmed and not
No, no.
present when I
Yeah, I
wish
get
I
it.
was.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that I have to say that my favorite one would have been Jazz Fest Montreal 2023. I played two shows that day. One on like a slightly smaller stage for my own project
Mhm.
under the moniker Hanorah. It was maybe 4 or 5,000 people, which was the biggest show that I'd played to date
Yeah, damn.
mm, under my own name.
Okay.
And then an hour later, I was on the big stage, the TD stage, playing a few of my songs with the Brooks. And
Whoa.
Alan Prater, who's the front man of the Brooks, he was like a trumpet player for Michael Jackson back in the day, moved to Montreal and was like trying to find his place in music for a long time here. And there's a lot of reasons why that was really hard for him, but he's truly a legend, a veteran in music, such a soulful dude, a gifted performer and entertainer, goosebump vocals, and just such a warm guy on stage, really just inviting and warm. And me and my best friend Christian went up there and sang together with Alan and the band, and it was just incredible. There was
Well, I was
40,000 people or something. It was nuts.
Jesus, that's power. What I was gonna ask is how did you find yourself in that second show with them? Like,
My first EP was produced by Alex Lapointe of the Brooks, and
oh, okay.
that band was the more or less the backing band on that first record, as well as like my guitar player at the time.
Okay.
And we found him because when I signed with my first label, we did some trial sessions with different producers, and Alex was on bass on one of those trial sessions with
Cool.
Jesse McCormack. Very talented guy. It wasn't the right fit, but then I was sitting at the piano in the studio playing "Who's Loving You" by Jackson 5,
Mhm.
and Alex, the bass player, whipped his head around. He was like,
Ah,
"Who's this kid? Why does she know this song?"
that's
And
funny.
we really clicked. So he ended up making that record, and I've been
Cool.
buds with the Brooks ever since.
So, does the trumpet player who you were just talking about, are you
Alan,
said
yeah.
they sorry?
Alan Prater.
Alan. I thought you were saying Alex. Sorry, Alan.
Alex is the bass player, yeah, and then Alan is the trumpet player and
Oh,
vocalist.
okay, Alan. You said that he moved to Montreal. Is he Canadian, or is he American and moved to Montreal?
I think he's from Florida. He's from the South in the US.
Oh, okay, okay. Anyway, I was just curious because whenever I hear about other people, I'm like, huh, he would be a good interview, but then I want to know if they're Canadian or not, you know?
Yeah, well,
Um,
he's been here a long time now, like 40 years or something crazy like
oh,
that. Yeah,
honorary Canadian
exactly.
then. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. Okay, so then also that sounds amazing. Thank you for that answer. Second is the opposite. What do you think is the worst gig that you've played?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is bad because it implicates other people.
Oh, well, you can shit on them if you want, but
I
most people keep it to themselves.
I strongly suspect that the person who would be most embarrassed by this is never, ever going to hear this
Okay.
interview.
Okay.
Um, if he does, I'm sorry. It
Okay.
was a rough night for everybody, not just you. But it was like a locally organized grassroots event, and wherein there were some local bands that were performing, and it was interspersed by a karaoke performance of one song
Okay.
by a particular classic rock band that I
Okay.
will not name. So it would be band, single karaoke song, band, single karaoke song, and that was the structure of the show, which is in itself unusual.
Odd. Yeah.
And this was at a time in my career when I didn't know how to sing sustainably yet, so I was blowing out my voice every show by screaming.
Oh. Mm.
So there were some vocal problems for me. We were not solid as a band yet. It was not strong musically at all. This was a very long time ago, almost 10 years ago now. Um, but the reason that this was the worst show was because one of the karaoke moments, there was a glitch with the track, and the guy that was performing was struggling to reach his notes as well. So the song kept starting over and he couldn't really sing it properly. And at the end, he just sat down on the stage, put down the microphone, put his face in his hands and
Oh,
started crying.
oh no. Oh no.
I know. And all
And
of us, the band was the audience was just other bands. So we were all just kind of watching him up there, looking at each other like we've all made grave mistakes with our
oh
lives.
god, yeah, that's bad. That reminds me of hearing about like comedians tell a story about watching their peer bomb on stage or something like,
Yeah.
oh
And
lord.
we all didn't do great that night, but that was really the cherry on the cake.
That yeah, yeah. It sounds like if that had been a bad show for you, no one would even remember that because of that other thing.
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
exactly why.
Perfect choice then. Perfect choice. Uh but hey, you were good. You acknowledged also your voice was also on
Oh,
shaky
yeah,
ground.
we did not do a good job.
Okay. What do you think is listenable? Like it's on streaming or whatever. What do you think is your best song under Hanorah?
It's gotta be Heavenly One. It's
Yeah.
the most recent single that just came out, and I'll even go so far as to say that the live session that's actually just come out today, April 10th, so it's coming out this interview is coming out in a few days, but
Yes, great. Yeah.
session the live session just came out today, and it's the most I'm not I have there's nothing I've made in my whole entire career in life that I'm more proud of than this video. The aesthetics, Kes Tagney, who directed it, Max Fraser, who did the production, musical
Yeah.
direction, and the mix. The band was incredible. We moved through the space, did like a one shot thing.
Oh, cool.
And my vocal performance, like I'm just so proud of it. I was like coming off of COVID when we filmed it,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah.
we pulled through and it was really beautiful. So, and the studio version that's online as well is just as divine. We had a choir and everything of some friends of mine. It
Ooh.
was stunning.
Yeah, well, what I was going to ask, obviously you like the song as you put it out so people can listen to it, but also that live session seems like you like even more.
I
So
do.
why even more? What was the change you made to that?
It's in the vocal performance. When we
Okay.
did the studio version, it was a lot of tender, quiet singing because it was a very
Mm,
emotional song, and I kept feeling like crying while we were singing it. And
mm.
something happens to me though when I perform with a live band. Something up here in my chest and my throat just opens up,
I know exactly
and
what you mean.
yeah, and like the release happens, and when that happens, it's like God is talking to me or something. God with a lowercase g, the source, universe,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever it is like in my veins and is coming out of my throat like Ariel from The Little Mermaid or something. And I am truly experiencing something spiritual when I sing with a live band. So when that happened, I went this like full vocal climactic moment, full belt moment happens at the end of the song, and it just gives me goosebumps when I hear it back, and it's just so beautiful. I love it.
Cool. Well, yeah, people go listen to the studio version, but also since it's coming out, go listen to the live version. Super quick about
Yeah.
the live version. You said you were nervous about it because you were coming off of COVID. So how long ago was this filmed, or did you just get COVID like way later than a lot of people?
COVID loves my body. Like I get COVID every 3 business months. Like if I don't get COVID during a season, it's because I don't know.
So
It doesn't
you're the person setting off the COVID
yes.
waves.
It's
Jeez. Okay.
mutating in my body and it's killing everyone and I'm very sorry.
Good
But
to
no,
know. Good to
it's
know.
it's just musicians, like, we play a lot of shows and you're in contact with the public a lot, so
Totally.
every single virus that's going around, if you have even a slightly weakened immune system, you're gonna get every single bug there is, so that's just what happens, and it's unfortunate because it's the worst thing ever for a singer, but
Totally. And also fucking what you were saying about germs and stuff. God fucking knows that if you don't bring your own mic to a show and you're just each band is using the same mic, you're all just basically making out with that mic
I
at the end of the day.
know.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
I
I just
never
try
bring
not
my
to
own
think about it.
mic. You're right, I should bring
It's
my own mic.
it's quite disgusting. I try not to even whatever. I have a thing with germs. Even if I think about like when I'm not in the mood to like kiss somebody or whatever, if I think about the act of that, I'm like that's fucking nasty. It's two
I get
like
it.
openings just that's
Yeah, I
disgusting.
know, it
Anyway,
is.
sorry listeners and you.
It's
Uh
okay.
that's a great answer. That's a great answer. So then okay, we're at the titular question. What do you think is your worst song I know it because you told me, but share it.
Yeah, I think my worst song, it's from my debut album. The album is called Perennial, and the song is called Winter Shade.
Okay, and so walk
Mhm.
me through why.
Well, there are things about the song that are good.
Mm-hmm.
There are even moments in the song where where I groove or I enjoy, what's happening vocally, let's say here or there. The reason I'm not there's a sonic reason and a lyric reason that I'm not a fan of the song now.
Okay.
In the sonics, I can say that when we made this record, I was sort of coming out of, or rather in the middle of a bit of a fog, due to some things in my personal life. Like I talked about, I was like living with a partner who
Yeah.
we broke up and he left the apartment, and there were just like, there's a whole mess going on. And I just wasn't really in the place to advocate for a lot of creative experimentation. There wasn't a lot of risk taking in the sonics on that record. I was just
Okay.
kind of like a bit of a zombie just showing up to the studio and like, okay, I'll sing my part now. The bass
Yeah.
line is
Yeah.
correct. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And I wish that I had been in a better headspace for the whole album and was able to summon the energy to really bring every single song to their final form in terms of sounds, sound choices. Um, it's not bad though. It's like it's just missing something in
That
terms of the songs. Now, lyrically is why I really have a problem with it.
okay.
um, there was like this whole period during the Black Lives Matter stuff where every black or black adjacent or biracial person was sort of like had microphones thrust in their face for like, what is it like to be a woman of color in music in Canada or whatever it was. And
Yeah.
I did give a few interviews like that, and it had me thinking a lot about identity, in a way that I was initially, or I should say, in a way that at times was constructive and
Mm.
healthy, because I have a very complex family background. My mom's Italian, my dad's half black and half white. There's an
Mhm.
adoption in there, so we didn't know our bio family for a long time, and
Right. Okay.
culturally very confused. And visually, I don't look like a white woman, but most people just assume I'm Moroccan or Brazilian or something, which
Yeah. I don't
already,
know what I would have guessed, but okay. Yep.
and that already implies ethnic mixing anyway because of the geographic location and the
Right.
histories of the two places. So
Right.
we don't really have a very clear, or like socially historically accurate view of race anyway. The boxes that we draw are like strange.
No, that's so true.
um
Even if you like you're well, who am I to tell you? But it like you're saying, I just read this history thing, and it's like for the longest time, up until like a few hundred years ago, race it wasn't based on the color you were, it was much more nationality.
yeah,
Like or the
exactly.
language you spoke or that kind of thing. It had nothing to do with like you could be really dark skinned, you could be really light skinned, but if you were from Egypt, everybody was an Egyptian, and I know that still exists, but it's sort of weirder. It's
Yeah, like the lines of,
colorized now.
totally, yeah, and exactly. So we changed the markers, I
Definition.
guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. The definition of what's going to other someone or not. So at that time, I feel like there was, what I observed was that there was a lot of focus on that
definitely.
for for a reason that was noble inherently, like initially, but then with time, it just kind of became like an interview question that people were tacking onto their list because they were afraid of being canceled, and
Okay.
it truly, like, it didn't really feel like a lot of those questions were necessarily thoughtfully placed. It was
No, I
just like,
believe you. I'm laughing because that's lame. Like I can see
it
that
is.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I could see that there was white guilt, and I don't like when people overuse that, but I could see that there was discomfort and a desire to appear like one of the good ones, and all that, and maybe some reflection of some, gatekeeping,
Mm-hmm.
mild unconscious perhaps in some situations. I think
Yeah.
most people mean well, truly.
It's like what you
So
just said. A lot of that movement, it came out of well-meaning, but
yeah,
then it
yeah,
ironically, it eventually, because the more and more people who stick a microphone in your face and ask you about that specifically,
it's more
I,
othering.
it's more othering. That's the
Yeah.
irony. They're actually othering you even more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so in that, I started to have a strange, it gave me like racial dysphoria.
Oh
Like,
Jesus. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like in that headspace of racial dysphoria of like, how do I claim, of course I wanna, oh man, like
You want to
I
do
still like,
justice to all of your backgrounds, but then if you
yes,
also have this mixed perception of culturally of what your background is, how do you even know how to do justice to
yeah,
those things? Yes.
I don't fit into the box at all. Like
Right.
even as a biracial person, the thing, there's no one black experience, to
Right.
be
Of
fair.
course. Yeah.
but even in there, there's at least a through line, not talking stereotype, but talking like commonalities.
Uh-huh.
And I don't really exist in there very much at the time, and I've had my own like lifetime of racial confusion and identity confusion because of that, which is
Sure.
now I'm getting into biracial tears and like whining and like I've seen and heard the most cringe art in my life from
Yeah.
confused biracial people, and unfortunately, this song "Winter Shade" is one of them.
Oh
Like, I
no.
that I had put that energy somewhere else and done my soul searching in some other way. I feel like that idea just wasn't executed as well as it could have been. I wish it had been more like, I don't know. I don't even know how that would look. And like, I love my family. I love where I come from. It's nothing to do with that. It's just I feel like I felt like tacitly coerced by the scene at the time, by the culture of the time, to make some kind of statement about who I
Mm.
am in a way that felt kind of dehumanizing and like exploitative of my background, and I don't like that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
all fair enough and well said. I'm just curious for specifics because you said lyrics and I
Oh!
know, I know, I'm sorry. Well, let me start with this. Maybe we can ease into it this way. Uh Correct me if I'm wrong. Winter shade is a term for plants, a subsection of plants.
You're thinking
Oh,
nightshades.
nightshade. Yes, I
Yeah,
am. Yes, I am.
tomatoes, which is interesting because Italian, but
True. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
oh, and Italians aren't even. I mean, tomatoes aren't even indigenous to Italy. But anyway, like it's we're in anyway.
That's so true. They're new world, right? As they
New
say.
quote unquote new world, exactly.
Yes.
But winter shade, I was referring to my makeup shade, like my
Oh.
foundation, like how in the winter I'm kind of more incognito because my melanin flies south for the winter, and then in the spring. But even that's such a cringe like metaphor, and I just wish that that song could be wiped from the face of me.
Okay, I see. Well, okay, then maybe that's a good question because a lot of people will go, "Oh, I have an answer for that, but I took it off because I was embarrassed by it." So why have you
No,
not taken it off?
honestly, I think that I just don't wanna send the email to my label and then have them be like, "Well, we're gonna have to contact this distributor and talk to the DSPs." Like, I don't wanna hear those words.
Yeah, you don't want to go through the
Anymore.
hassle and rigmarole of all that. So,
I don't wanna have to justify it and have this exact conversation with them that we've just had because I don't know
totally.
how well received it's gonna be. So, it's there. It's a small smear on that album, and, I learned my lesson from it.
Also, it's growth. People
Yeah.
grow. It's an example of where you were at one point, and even if you don't relate to it now or don't quite see it as successful now, you released it at a time when you did. You know.
Yeah. I mean, there are musical things about it that are still cool, like in the arrangement. It's just like now exactly the lesson is don't write a song because you feel like you have to from an
Right.
external source. Like write the songs that you need to from you.
Exactly. Maybe in 10 years, a song about that subject will come to you, but it'll be a lot more natural or something. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Who knows?
Okay. The last thing I usually ask about the worst song is obviously, you know, you don't like it, but would you ever refit it live? Maybe change some lyrics because you like it musically so that it's
It
worth
has
something.
potential. It has
Yeah.
potential musically. It's like funky and mysterious and has potential to go even deeper in that direction. I guess I would hope for myself to find the right words for it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
worth a rework, and I've even had conversations with a producer about re-recording some of those songs to take them to that final place sonically, like I didn't have the strength to at the time. So, if
Right.
that ever happens, if I scrape together the funds to do a Hanorah retrospective or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah. Yeah.
totally worth a revisit.
That would be cool. Hanorah retrospective. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, one last thing on
Oh,
Hanorah
yeah.
retrospective. It's funny because this summer actually marks 10 years of the project,
Oh,
and
whoa.
I'm very lucky. I'll get to perform at the Montreal Jazz Fest again this summer, but on
Oh,
the big stage, on the TD stage as Hanorah, like my name
whoa.
on June 29th at
That's so
7:30.
cool. Okay, well, people listening to this, if you're based in Montreal, remember that. No, jot that date down.
Yeah, June
Well,
29th, 10 years of Hanorah
10
jazz.
years of Honor. That's so cool. Well, maybe that is a song that you could play for rework. Who knows? Just
Maybe.
putting that out there. Just putting that out there. Uh, uh, well, in that vein, is there anything else that you want to mention? Like we said, this is coming out the Monday coming, so I think that's the 13th or the 14th.
For
Uh,
sure. Yeah, folks
any?
can
Yeah.
totally, yeah. So my EP is coming out May 9th. It's called Closer Than Hell, and I'm so proud of this record. And so yes, I'm stoked to share that with the world on May 9th. And then we'll be playing Montreal Jazz Fest June 29th, and then Toronto actually on June 6th at Monarch Tavern.
Oh hell yeah.
Emily Steinwall and Emma Beckett, two
Oh, hilarious.
amazing
They're
vocalists.
awesome. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
Great, great. That's going to be a good
So
one.
yes. So that's it.
Aw-
That's where you find me.
Okay, sweet. Good to know. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. The thing we usually do at the end is have the guest restate their name, restate their band name, and the worst song choice name.
My name is Hanorah, and my worst song ever is Winter Shade.
Perfect. Thank you.
Don't love my father with half my heart. Can't grieve ancestors I've never known with a fraction of my soul. Powers that be don't claim me as their own. I don't live in half a home. Ticking boxes just ain't my game. Don't be fooled by my winter shade. By my winter shade. By my winter shade. By my winter shade. I see the world through my left eye, yeah. And I know the violence in between your thighs won't take up space that was never mine.